What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. So it is Memorial Day. This is a day that we celebrate the lives and mourn the deaths of some of our bravest who gave everything to defend their country. Now, this day is a little, for me personally, just because I witnessed one of my friends die, and they weren't in battle. They were in basic training. And the reason that he died was because he was running. He had a problem with his heart. He was trying to let the drill sergeant know that there was a problem. The drill sergeant just kept yelling at him and told him to keep running, and he dropped dead. He died because of blindly following authority, and I just feel like it's very metaphorical for what we have seen happen to, at this point, hundreds of thousands of soldiers over the course of the last 100 years who have died because authority has led us wrong. In the moment that we've questioned this authority, we've been lied to, we've been laughed at, we've been chastised, we've been attacked. And Tulsi Gabbard does a fantastic job addressing this in a recent article from ABC where she calls this out as an active duty veteran and a major in the National Guard. She says, "There's nothing that angers me more than the hypocrisy exhibited every Memorial Day by warmongering politicians and media pundits feigning sympathy for those who paid the ultimate price." Let me bring this up for y'all. Okay, just kidding. It is going to come up. She says, for paying the ultimate price for in service to our country, while simultaneously advocating for more counterproductive regime change wars and the new Cold War and arms race. And she said, the true way to honor our troops who have sacrificed their lives for our country is to work to prevent unnecessary costly wars, which will result in the death of more of my brothers and sisters in uniform. Memorial Day is a time to remember that wars should only be waged as a very last resort to keep the American people safe. And I don't understand how anyone could really disagree with that. I don't understand how anyone could disagree with that statement. Mind you, the same people who are prancing around talking about remember the troops, giving shout outs to the troops, so we have to remember them. Those same ones are beating the drums for war against Venezuela. Those same people are beating the drums for war against Iran. Those same people beat the drums of war against Iraq and Afghanistan. And the same ones are begging us to go to war in Syria based off of lies. Now, like I said, what makes this unique is that, well, for one, the presidential candidate has never and would never in the past say anything like this and live to tell the story the next day. I mean, at least their campaign wouldn't live. But in my opinion, this is something that needs to be cheered on. This is a truth that needs to be told because we are hearing this type of truth is coming from an active duty major who volunteered to deploy. And after seeing what she saw, came back and said, this isn't right. We have to do something about it. This war is illegitimate. The lies we've been told about the people here were illegitimate, and they were merely attempts to manufacture consent. We need to avoid these wars. We don't need to get into them. We need to allow the people to practice autonomy and self-determination. We need to maintain sovereignty and allow these countries to maintain their sovereignty. We are, in fact, harming our national security. We're putting the people at risk by engaging in these wars. We're not helping anybody. This is an active duty major. This is a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. This is a member of the Committee of Foreign Affairs. This is someone who's visited these countries both in uniform and in a pantsuit. This is a presidential candidate who could have taken this opportunity, this very opportunity, to exploit the narrative that has been put out in front of us by the mainstream, to pander for votes, to take advantage of the fact that she is one of the very few veterans that are running, but also she's the only one who is currently still serving. Goes to her 2 days, every month. She goes to Hawaii and puts on her uniform again. A person that dedicated to truth, if everyone was being told the truth about her, if she was getting the correct exposure, not merely being thrown out there to be dismantled while she has to constantly shrug off smear attempts, if she was being put out there and portrayed in the same way they're pretending to portray Buttigieg, for example, she would be polling at 90%, excuse me. They know that the left and the right would worship her. Right now in our midst, we have a woman, which I'm not surprised, by the way. I always said that when we finally do get a woman, it is highly likely that if it's the right woman, she'll probably be the best president in history. I've always said that. I'm very partial to the decision-making of women versus the decision-making of men, because most of the time, the decision-making of men is made off of ego and testosterone, whereas a woman, oftentimes, is not going to make a decision based off of that type of petty stuff. And it's looking like if Tulsi is our first woman president, obviously she'll be our first anti-establishment president. She would be the best president in history. We have a chance right now to put in a woman who said, I don't need no damn generals. And I'll have a Secretary of State. I'll have generals on the staff, but I don't need them. I know how to make my own decisions. I know how to think for myself. I will not be manipulated by these generals who answer to these secretaries, who answer to the CIA, to the Pentagon, who answer to Boeing, to Lockheed Martin, who are literally right outside of the Pentagon. It's like a revolving door. Who are only trying to bolster the military-industrial complex. Why does she need to answer to them? And why wouldn't we think that's a fantastic thing? Where have these intelligence communities led us to in the past? Speaking of Memorial Day, the war in Iraq, thousands of soldiers lost. For what? Based off of lies. The war in Afghanistan. You know whose lives were not lost? Saudi Arabian lives, even though those are the ones who were involved in the 9/11 attacks. But hundreds of thousands of innocent Afghans are dead now for something that had absolutely nothing to do with their country. It was found out that we went into World War I based off of a lie that the Lusitania had a bunch of civilians on it that were just innocent, not doing anything. It was blown up, and that was a lie we used to go into World War I. It turned out, we found out later, of course, it was a lie. There was actually a cargo ship, and we were trying to ship weapons overseas into Europe, amongst other things. The lie that was created about Germany to begin with in World War I, that they were this crazy psychopathic nation that was bent on trying to rule the world. Those are all lies. Can you blame Tulsi? Can you blame Tulsi and anyone else who's been paying attention for not wanting to hear and once again, as a veteran, and I am a veteran, as a veteran who decided to opt out of going to war in Afghanistan, I don't want to hear it. Not from these politicians, not from these pundits, these commentators. A lot of the times, it's you'd be hard pressed to find me celebrating Veterans Day or Memorial Day, because it's a difficult holiday for me to celebrate. I'm not gonna lie. Because not necessarily because of the people who should be remembered, but because of the people who are pretending like they care. Remember, it's just like with the Colin Kaepernick situation. Hey, I want to make sure that black people don't get killed. Oh, so you don't support the troops? Oh, now y'all support the troops. It's crazy how many people support the troops. When Colin Kaepernick just said, hey, can we just not treat black people like trash? That's literally all I'm asking. They said, oh, we support the troops. You don't support them. That's why you're kneeling. Has nothing to do with what the reason you gave us. But they support us so much, they would like to, they have to show support to us. Because how else are we going to be convinced that going to a war in Iran is the right thing to do? That going to war in Syria is the right thing to do? That going to war in Venezuela and dying for some rich white man's oil is the right thing to do? How else would they convince us? And I'm sure that the NFL didn't take so much action against Colin Kaepernick, not only because of what he was standing up for, or kneeling for, I should say, but also the fact that, well, there's a multi-billion-dollar recruiting budget that the U.S. military gives to the NFL, which is why the players have to come out and stand up for the national anthem to begin with, which is a relatively new phenomena. So like Tulsi said, you don't have to feign support for us. We would rather you just continue to show your new colors, and we'll go on about our business. And the real veterans who actually understand the cost of war will celebrate our fallen brothers and sisters in arms the way we feel we should. So with that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon by clicking on the link in the description below, becoming a member. Or you can donate to us on PayPal, or you can donate to us on cash as well. But remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace.